Okay, welcome back to what is episode 2, part 2 of a at least 16-part series of videos about this book, Successful Fathers by James B. Stenson. And I talked about that in the first video a little bit, the introduction to this book. So I want to get right to the points of this video. Which is in a section at the end of this book called Successful Fathers Today. Number 2, successful fathers think long-term about their children's future character as grown-up men and women. They think of inner strengths, not career choices. They ask the same character-centered questions that parents have always pondered, and then ask themselves, what do my wife and I have to do now to raise our children toward responsible adulthood? In other words, they see themselves raising adults, not children. My first thought when I read that and in looking in the book and that particular point was Proverbs 22:6 in the Bible. Train up a child in the way that they should go, and even into old age they will not depart from it. We hear that, and at least I've heard it, and you sort of think, well, of course, about godly children, and children being the way that, of course, we're going to train them up, and they will become these terrific adults. I think what we don't often think about is how this plays out in terms of what we're not doing and what we are in this day and age failing to do or allowing to happen, and that this too is a form of a way of training up children that they will not depart from in old age. So when we think about children today who perhaps lack a work ethic because they've never been asked or expected to really work hard. They're not particularly self-reliant because their parents do everything for them. They're not very creative because they never have to solve problems themselves. They may not be respectful because oftentimes in this day and age we live in a very disrespectful culture. They see it on TV and the media. Maybe regrettably, they sort of see their own parents speak kind of behind closed doors or in the car disrespectfully of others. So all of these things and many other things, allowing children to really do whatever it is they want to do, to spend countless hours watching TV or playing video games on their phones, texting, using social media, apps, etc. Those two are ways in which we are training up a child. And sadly, when they get older, they may not depart from it. And this is what we see culturally, what has almost become a joke, this idea, well, not idea, reality of so many young adults who come back and live at home with their parents. And then there's sort of this wondering why. What has happened from a day and age in human history where when kids were 15, 16 years old, they were already considered men and women, and they were beginning to go off on their own and do their own things. Well, a few things that I think from my seat in having worked with kids for so long. One, we have this thing in our day and age called peer orientation, which is really prevalent. To explain it quickly is this idea. Through most of human history, children were raised by their parents and a small group of people around them. They were homeschooled, and it was adults that they were around, and maybe their own siblings and some others nearby. And so as they grew, they learned how to become adults by orienting themselves towards their parents, much in the same way that a kitten figures out how to be a cat by paying attention to its mother and watching its mother. And all species do this. But in a post-industrial revolution world where fathers are no longer at home, they no longer work on the farm or as blacksmiths, cobblers, those sorts of things, and they're going off to work and they spend at least 40 or more hours a week away from the home. Mothers increasingly are also having to do the same thing. Teachers are oftentimes more disconnected from their students. They, perhaps because of the demands on them, they aren't as able to give intimate attention and formation to the children entrusted to their care. So what do children naturally do? They sort of turn to each other. And with the onset of compulsory education, we have taken children where at one point in time they would have had elder siblings and their parents around them. We've now sort of stratified them by age. So from the time they're in kindergarten until they graduate high school, they spend most of their waking hours with people who are their same age. And they spend a lot of time talking to them, and they go to each other with their problems and issues, and they learn from each other, and they figure out things. And of course, you throw in social media and other things, the influences of, via Twitter, that movie stars and other people have more influence and say in their life than perhaps their own parents. They know more about them than they do their own parents, certainly their grandparents, etc. And so you have, I don't want to say the blind leading the blind, but that's kind of the analogy. You have teenagers teaching other teenagers how to become adults. And so we then wonder about why we have this arrested development of children moving into the young adult years. Add to this kind of a current phenomena in our country of over-parenting. Parents who are going to do everything that they can to make sure absolutely their children do not fail, will plan everything out for them. They do everything for them. They almost serve their children as chauffeurs and cooks and maids and doing the laundry, and they do everything for them. That I want another book recommendation that I cannot recommend highly enough is this book, The Gift of Failure by Jessica Lahey. How the best parents learn to let go so their children can succeed. And Jessica Lahey talks about in this book this idea of over-parenting and how detrimental that can be to the formation of children. So, when we do look at this thing of young adults in their 20s and 30s living with their parents, and obviously that's not super widespread, but it's more than it was at one point in time, and we wonder why. So if we want our children to be faithful, virtuous, humble, and docile, and I oftentimes think of those two things together in relationship to children, that in humility there's also a need for docility, to be able to be formed and shaped and not resistant to that, not pridefully resistant to. So docile, respectful, hardworking, self-reliant, creative, any of those things that we think of that we would like to see in our adult children. And if it is what we want to see in our grown children, then we must begin forming it and expecting it now, not later. Successful fathers, as Stenson points out, will begin to work now in the formation of the men and women they hope and pray their children will become. Don't leave it to the church or youth ministers or catechists to instill faith and virtues in your children. They're volunteers, and this is not their responsibility. It's our responsibility if we want to see those things. Don't rely on schools to form character or to develop morals and a strong work ethic. If you hope to see these things in your adult children, begin teaching and encouraging it today at every turn, and let them see it in you. I'll take one example of a work ethic, is that sometimes I have been critical of the fact that young people today don't seem to have the same work ethic. They seem averse to perhaps wanting to work hard. And then I think about it and I look around and say, well, do today's children have to work as hard as perhaps their grandparents did or their great-grandparents did? And the answer almost across the board is no, we definitely didn't. I didn't. So if we want to instill, we want our adult children to be hardworking, and we know that that's good for them in the long term, then we need to have them begin to work now. So if you've seen other videos on this channel that I have done, you'll see that every opportunity that I have when there is work to be done here, I try to incorporate the kids into it. And that's something that I've been intentionally doing for some time, is that everything, no matter how small or how difficult, I have them help in some way. And I teach them and I let them do things. I let them fail, I let them make mistakes. I mean, obviously I'm not gonna let them get hurt, but these are, this is a way that for me, I'm beginning to try and develop a strong work ethic in my children, self-reliance, learning how to be creative problem solvers. I let them sometimes, I pose as we're getting ready to do something, and say, how should we go about solving this problem? So if you take that in any of the things we do and spread it across in developing virtues and faith, in being respectful, etc., it begins today if we want to see it later. And so this video's, well, so much for these being short. Maybe that's kind of impossible to try and say the things that I would like to say. This video's already gone 11 plus minutes. So I apologize for that. Not going to be short. Average viewership is only, they say about 2 minutes. So if you're probably the unbelievable person that has hung on this long. And if so, if you wouldn't mind, I guess, let me know if you like the videos. Or leave comments if you do think, hey, make them shorter or they're great or whatever. Leave comments underneath there. Subscribe to the channel if you want to know when these come up. I'm going to try and get them uploaded fairly quickly, but no guarantees. I don't know what tomorrow brings. I think that's it for this one. I'll get back as soon as possible. So let's pray for each other. I'll pray for all the fathers and mothers out there and ask your prayers in return for me. And that's it. God bless from St. Isidore's Farm, and have a great night.